The Rocket X3 is one of the most high-tech racing sneakers that HOKA has ever launched, and it's one of the comfiest super shoes out there. But is it fast enough? Here's our full review. So this is actually the first member of HOKA's Rocket line that we're reviewing on this channel. So quick background. Roughly 5 years ago, most of HOKA's running shoes were soft and cushioned like the Clifton, and maybe with the exception of the Carbon X, none of those shoes were necessarily that fast. And in trying to create an answer to, say, the Nike Vaporfly, the Saucony Endorphin Pro, and other super shoes at the time, HOKA developed the first Rocket X. The Rocket X wasn't quite as fast as the other competitors, and then the same thing kind of happened with the Rocket X2. So last year, HOKA goes back to the drawing board and creates an entirely different racing shoe line, and they call it the Cielo. And when the Cielos hit the market, I figured that the writing was on the wall and that meant the end of the Rocket series, because why keep making two different lines of racing shoes? Turns out I was wrong, kind of. The Rocket kept existing, but in a slightly different form. Now, all that weight comes from a generously cushioned, dual-density Puma foam midsole, which is not the most responsive foam in the world, but that has a whole lot more give than some of the foams that our racing shoes of today have. Like, for example, the Puma Faster Nitro Elite 3, which, in my opinion, might be the fastest shoe in the world. The foam in this shoe weighs a whole lot more and is much more highly stacked, and so you lose out on some weight points and lightness points, but your legs will feel much better the day after wearing this than wearing this. Now, Puma is still one of the fastest foams in the world, but it's a little bit heavier than these new ATPU foams that you find in most cutting-edge racing shoes, like the Puma Faststar Nitro Elite 3 or even the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. And while in Santa Barbara, I asked HOKA product engineers if they were playing with these ATPU foams, and while they don't use it in their shoes yet, I wouldn't be surprised to see it included in some of their future models. Now, embedded in that foam is a winged carbon plate that's curved for maximal rock-forward profile and propulsion. And then under the foam is a pretty modest layer of lugs that gives the shoe a bit of extra traction and also helps with durability. Then, arguably the best part of the shoe is, and I don't say this very often because most shoes are created equal in this sense, but is the upper. It's got a single layer mesh that weighs next to nothing, that's really nice and light and breathable. And then it has these crinkle cut laces that really help manipulate the tightness of the upper. It's a much better lacing system than some of HOKA's other shoes, specifically the Cielo X1. That was the worst. And then the instep has a nice soft collar that helps prevent blisters. Now, let's take a quick pit stop into Nerd Corner here. You might have noticed that the stack height for the Rocket X3 is 42 millimeters, which is 2 millimeters taller than the maximum allowed height by World Athletics, which technically would make the shoe illegal in races. But it turns out that World Athletics measures a shoe's official stack height by checking out their size 8.5 shoe. The one that I'm holding here is a size 11, and the standard testing pair is a size 10. And so it just so happens that when a shoe is longer, it can also scale to be a little bit taller, meaning that its size 8.5 is actually under the 40 millimeter mark, making the Rocket X3 technically a legal shoe. So yes, you can wear this in races everywhere. So my first impression when holding this shoe was, I wondered if it would feel more like the Rocket X1 or the Rocket X2, which ended up being very different shoes. The Rocket X1 had a very strong rock-forward profile, which has become somewhat characteristic of HOKA racing shoes. They really thrust you onto your toes, and it might be the fastest part of HOKA racers in general. The X1 had that. The X2 was excellent for its cushioning. It was much more of a comfy ride. Felt good the day after I wore them, but both shoe kind of missed something. The Rocket X1 lacked a bit of comfort and the X2 lacked a bit of speed. So I wondered in which direction the X3 went, and given the size of the midsole, I figured that it's leaning more towards a comfort style workout shoe than a speed style workout shoe. But there was only one way to find that out. So we took it outside.
Hello from the Santa Barbara airport. I think I just had the coolest Weartest experience maybe of my life. So HOKA brought in a bunch of media members down here to test out the Rocket X3 a little bit early. And somehow I got to work out with one of their professional athletes, Ahmed Muhumed, who's a 27:03 10K guy. So I strapped on the Rocket and did a workout with him and his coach, Jack Mullaney. And obviously it was a modified workout for me, but it was still cool. And I now have my thoughts on the Rocket X3. I'm gonna take it home to Toronto to test it on the lakeshore and try it out at a speed other than like max. Yeah, it can hold its own on the track. But okay, a little bit more testing. Here are my full thoughts.
You know, since I got back from Santa Barbara, I've been wearing these shoes and trying them out at different paces. And what's cool is that they're kind of comfortable at a lot of different gears. So I did some threshold work in them, and they still felt good, like not awkward like the Cielos. I've had issues with the HOKA Cielos because they only have that one gear, max speed. Whereas the Rockets, you could wear them for something fast, you could tone it down and run a nice comfortable threshold in them. And honestly, even running at this pace, easy run pace, they feel pretty good. Now, I wouldn't choose these for my easy running shoes. My one slight issue with them is that the toe box is kind of narrow and really shortens near the end to the point where I would almost buy them as like half a size big, half a size larger. Like I'm usually a size 11. These are size 11. They're feeling a little small on my feet, but outside of that, I'm enjoying how they feel at a bunch of different speeds. They don't force you onto your toes, but they also don't push you back on your heel. I'm a big fan of these shoes.
Okay, so let's rate the HOKA Rocket X3, starting as always with design. Now, I don't think we will see the shoe down any catwalks anytime soon. It's a very average looking shoe in these days of crazy looking super trainers and racing shoes. Don't want to hold that against it. I think sometimes minimalism is good. I also think that the upper is very well designed, not necessarily talking aesthetics, but more function. So I think I ended up being generous with it, even though I feel like everyone says that it looks pretty average. We gave it a 7.1. Next is performance. So I had to readjust my initial score because I realized that I was scoring it like a racing shoe because I had always known the Rocket to be a racing shoe, but performance-wise, we're scoring it as a workout shoe. And even though it's not as fast as some of the other shoes that I've been wearing this year, that's not the entire point. We want speed and we want comfort in a racing shoe at the same time. And so with that in mind, we gave it a 7.8. Next up is comfort. Now, the two issues that I've had with HOKA shoes have been a narrow toe box that would grind at my little pinky toes. None of that here. And also a rock forward profile, talking about the Cielo here, that has been so aggressive that I wasn't really able to wear the shoes for anything other than race pace. Also not the case here. The Rocket X3 has more give, and so it accommodates a little bit more types of paces. The one thing I'll say is they tend to fit a little bit small. This was tight on my toes. I usually go for an 11, and I think I would do better with an 11.5. So get a size up, and if you do that, you'll likely feel comfortable in it. With that caveat, we gave it an 8. And finally, value. Now, this is where the Rocket X3 scored the lowest because it's a workout shoe that is still priced like a racing shoe. And so you will pay a little bit extra for it. I still think it's a good shoe, but $250 is pretty hefty. We gave it a 6.9. And so that brings our final overall rating of the HOKA Rocket X3 to a 7.5. And finally, the verdict. Should you buy the HOKA Rocket X3? Now, I'll be honest, I had low expectations when I first received this shoe because I feared that it would fall in some weird no man's land, being maybe not too comfortable, but also not that fast. But it actually had an opposite effect, kind of like a Goldilocks effect. It's comfier than the Cielo, I like it better on my feet, and at the same time, it's quite a bit faster than other HOKA workout shoes like the Mach X. Now, there are definitely faster racing shoes out there, But if you favor comfort or want a shoe that's pretty aggressive for workouts while not destroying your feet, this is a good pick. Just be ready to be on your toes, maybe buy a size up, and you'll have fun. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to share it with someone else who might think the same. Our goal is to connect with as many runners like you as possible, and a share goes a long way. So, happy running, and until next time.